Welcome back, guys. Today I'm going to be explaining the same thing over and over and again until you guys can master iCC. Okay, so we see that above this level price was bullish. Okay, above this area of resistance we have the first area of resistance over here. Price broke through it and pushed all the way up to that area. Okay, so we see that anything above this level, it was able to push price even up to around this level of resistance. Okay, so we had the first time, the second time. So here we're going to buy 5 positions for buys. Stop loss is going to be underneath the previous low. We're going to target where price stopped. Okay, so that will be my target. Okay, so you see that price actually respected structure and then continued up to what? Up to our take profit. Okay, but now the issue that I have when I'm trading small accounts is that although this trade is very perfect, that it even hits TP, the issue which I have is that I usually over leverage. Okay, so I can't catch all these big moves because I simply over leverage. So for people, my advice to most of you guys who are trading iCC is that if you have a small account, try as much as possible to use iCC, maybe with layers. Okay, you can use the layered way of trading whereby once price hits a certain point, you add in more positions. Okay, you don't have to put 50 lots on each. Okay, not maybe let's say you don't have to put one standard lot on each position on gold, simply because you know that price is going to push up. Because in most of the cases, if you observe, we had this small push. You see this was my entry above. Okay, and then price came and made a small push to the downside. So if you had over leveraged, it would have been taken out, then price would have continued your way. Your stop loss wouldn't even have been hit, but because you over leveraged, price comes and takes you out and then continues your way. So you have to be very vigilant on how you position yourself when you're entering the market. Don't enter full margin all the time, depending on your ambitions. If you want to grow the account fast, you can use I'm not advising you, I'm just saying you can use. Okay, I don't want you guys to go in the comment section, oh, he said that we have to use no, I didn't say that. I told you that if you guys want to learn and use the best of your ability, you can use leverage trading. Okay, but if you want to grow your account slowly, you're a beginner, you're trying to grow a small capital, this is the way. Okay, just follow iCC. As I've told you, anything above this level of resistance, if you observe, this was the level of resistance before. Anything above that level is good for buys, and price shows us that it usually buys until we reach over here where we found the next level of support. So price is moving from areas where there are buyers to areas where there are sellers, and from areas where there are sellers to areas where there are buyers. As simple as that. So with iCC, I don't even have to stress too much about whether price will go up or down. All I'm looking for is to look for the entry and then look for ways to minimize my risk. Okay, because here price could have simply just reversed and then went all the way down. We already had so many indications. Perhaps the first indication would have been that this was the previous level of support, price broke through it. Anything underneath this level is good for sales. So the only indication for sales will be if price came underneath this zone, and then you would start to stack in your entries for sales. But price so far has been giving us bullish momentum, so I decided to buy here because I've told you guys anything above this level of resistance is good for buys, and therefore we bought. TP was going to be at the next area of confluence where there are sellers, and this is about it. Okay, so that's why I took the entry, and yeah, we have hit TP on most of the accounts. Okay, on most of the positions. So we shall close until we leave only one position, and this one position is just going to be used as okay. So you see that price even pushes higher, it pushes past the level. Now the issue that most people have is that once price pushes up against above a level, people become scared. Okay, they'll be like, oh, I missed that move, but bro, if you have been trading for so long, you know that price can just simply reach this level of resistance and then drop all the way to that bottom. Okay, so it's not always guaranteed that price will always make this breakout. But anyways, since I held one position, I want you guys to see how price moves. Okay, so you see that price actually now started going even higher. Now you'll be scared, you'll be so scared. Most people are so scared when they reach this point because they don't know if they have to hop onto the market, they should wait for a pullback. And this is where smart money and other big institutions trade. The other trade is that they work with volume, okay? They want their orders to be executed, but they want there to be volume. Therefore, if you get a setup, and this could be most especially the setup which I'm taking right now, it could be during the New York session, okay? There is lots of volume. So if you are able to spot a continuation pattern on the low time from like the M15, the M5, and the M1, you don't even have to hesitate for you to take your entries. I can promise you that 90% of the time, price when it has volume, the continuation is actually way too easy, because price usually follows volume, okay? Where there is volume, price also goes. So once we saw that price made a breakout, you could have entered your buy positions, because this is the New York session where there's lots of momentum. But anyways, let me just close. Okay, so you're in 238k, and we see that price has now went underneath this level. The first level of support, it was minor, but it's a level of support anyways, okay? So here we shall sell. Okay, we can only put 3 positions. We shall sell. TP will be at underneath this zone up to around this area of support. The first one was here. Okay, we shall close. Okay, we lost, but it's okay, because we know that in the long run we have made money, so we don't have to even stress that we have lost a couple of points, okay? But guys, that's iCC. I'll just give you one more example so that you guys can also practice. What do you observe from this market structure? You first of all identify by identifying your points of high levels of resistance and support. So this was a good area for support, because price, after it reached this support zone, buyers were able to push price all the way to the upside, okay? And then this was the previous low, okay? So underneath, anything underneath this area is good for sales. Anything above is good for buys, okay? So what do you expect market to do? As an iCC trader, all I want is an indication. We already got the indication by price breaking underneath this level of support, and after it broke through, we came for a retest. Now all we are waiting for is for price to come down, and then afterwards we shall take entries for sales, okay? So where do I take my entries for sales? I'm telling you guys, I'll be taking my entries for sales after price breaks that level of support. If it comes underneath, I'll be able to take my entries. I can't take them above, because that's what most of you guys do. I can't take them above. Now here's the crazy part. So you have been waiting for price to come all the way down to your to that you can take your entries. But what happened? Price gave you a new indication that it wants to go higher, okay? That is the first indication. Price made a few pips above that zone, giving you the indication that, hey, I want to go higher, okay? So you can do another level of resistance. We have another level of resistance over here, and we see that price, whenever it went above there, it bought until we reached that area of above, okay? So our main aim is to wait for price to make a push back down, and then afterwards we shall trade it once it comes above that level once more again. So see that price comes back again, that above that level, we shall put a stop loss at the nearest area of confluence. TP is gonna be at the next area of so we shall put it like this, and then afterwards, you see, when you're out, where there are two main things that you have to notice. When you're out of sessions, price can easily take you out, okay? Because when you're out of session, but by what I mean by being out of sessions, what I mean is that if you enter your trades during a wrong session, maybe the Asian session when you're trading gold, you're going to find yourself in so many losing positions, because price won't give you the indication that you want, and also the correction and the continuation moves are always going to be manipulated, okay? There's not going to be much more volume, so you're going to have fake volumes, okay? But if you're trading during the New York session, you're going to get true volume. Why do I say true volume? Because that's when the most big institutions are active, okay, during the New York session. So you can trade gold during the New York session mostly, okay, and you can maximize by using high leverage. So this is what I'm advising most of you guys to do. Instead of putting high leverage on every session, what you should do instead is that you should go to the session where you feel that there is much volume, and then you enter with high volume. Why? Because when you enter with high volume on with a high leverage on a high volume, most of your orders are going to be triggered, and they're going to hit your TPs faster. So isn't that what you want? Your trades hitting TP faster, okay? So if that's what you want, you also don't want to avoid you also want to avoid unnecessary losses due to low volume, or as you go to the volume with the highest number of transactions. Okay, so here we see that price actually broke, and then afterwards we had our TP smashed. Okay, and why did I take that buy? As I've told you guys, anything and above this level, it showed us that price was good for buys. Okay, but what happened? Price sold and just a few pips underneath, and then afterwards we had this continuation move to the upside. Yeah, so some people will be asking, but Kevin, why didn't you take your buys immediately after here? It's true, you can also take your buys here, but usually after trading some time, I know that price has to first of all clear this level of this resistance. It can be minor, but I want to see price break through it. Then I can easily put my entries for buys. So for smaller accounts, you can always wait for price to break out of the nearest resistance, and then afterwards you put your entries targeting the next level areas of resistance, and then afterwards you make money. Okay, so what do you see? Price is starting to push up, push up. Now we are stalling. Okay, okay, now over here we see that price is now starting to sell, but I won't take this trade because we are, as I've told you guys, you have to wait for price to give you momentum. Okay, okay, so price makes a push down. What happens after some time is that price okay, price goes above the same level that we saw before. So we shall take our buys here. TP is gonna be at the next area where we saw that buys take place. Why am I putting my TP there? Because that's where we found the first area of resistance after price made a breakout. So here we shall hold, but since we're out of sessions, I don't really recommend trading during the out of session. You see, when you're out of sessions, price usually starts to consolidate and also take you out. So I'll take my loss. I will hit okay. We shall take the L, but just as I've told you, you have to wait for price to be in sync. But anyways, it is what it is. So it's the indication, and then after some time, after some time, we see that price is likely to start continue with the trend. So it has gone above the first area of resistance, and above the second area, so we shall buy here. Stop loss will be underneath this level here, and then TP is gonna be at this level of resistance. Okay, so we see that price nearly takes us out. It comes, but it nearly hits our stop loss, and then after some time we see that massive push to the upside. So probably if you're trading, if you're to trade this pair right now, I can tell you for a fact that we already have a new indication in price break out of this area here. So that's the next indication that we have. So price is likely to start pushing up. Okay, I'm marking these levels so that you guys can observe where I'm going with this. Okay, so even this one should be a little bit narrow so that you guys can differentiate between them and then the price line. Okay, so that's better. So as you have most of you guys have seen, anything above these two zones is good for buys. We already have a new indication in the market that he wants to continue buying higher. So we shall just simply wait for a pullback, and then afterwards we shall see what price gives us. But so far we're in 32,000 points, and then we shall see what. Why don't I take my buys there? Because we have the first indication. When you have the first indication, price won't usually just start to buy impulsively. It will first of all make this crazy pullback. Okay, because in most of the cases the indication is made in a very active session. So we see that price comes back again, but we don't we come back again up. Okay, Okay, so here would have been your entry for buy, and then the stop loss would have been here. Would have aimed for a 1 to 2. Okay, our take profit ends up being smashed. But the issue with my back testing tool is that I don't have like the session timing. That's why I hesitated to take that entry for buy. But basically, once price goes above a level, that's the first indication. Then the second time that price comes above that level, that's when you take your entries for buys. Stop loss is always nearer to the closest area where you see that price. If it goes underneath this zone, I don't want to be in the market. So that's where I put a stop loss. And then afterwards, just hold your trade until you hit either stop loss or TP. As simple as that. But so far with iCC, you have seen that we have made some good cash. If you go to history here, you see that our win rate is over 85. Okay, 85.71, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 positions. We are in 85.71%. Okay, so we shall wait a bit. We see that price is now starting to make this uptrend. Okay, and also if you observe again above this level, price bought all the way up to where? Up to there before it found resistance. So this will be a stop loss hit, but it's okay. It's okay. We have a new indication that price wants to go higher. Where did I get the indication? From here. Okay, so whenever price went above this previous high, that was the indication that I needed, that price wants to go higher. So once price came above, this would have been my TP, and then TP is a 1 to 2, and then after we got stopped out, unfortunately. And we see that price is now starting to give us bearish continuation, because remember we are waiting for many candles. So this is bearish confirmation, and then price comes underneath the zone. We shall sell. TP stop loss is going to be just above this area here, okay, the previous high, and TP is going to be at the next area of support, which is around there. Okay, let's wait. Okay, so TP got hit, and yeah, that's it for iCC, guys. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer. We said that our win rate is 70%, but it would have been more, although I entered a formal trade. This right here is a formal trade. Okay, this whole area here up to here, that was a formal trade. I was like, price can potentially push up, but there was no clear indication. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll be updating you on more of iCC trades. Maybe let me just give you one more example. By this time around, I'm just going to be trading, just drawing lines without explaining. Okay, so that you guys can, if you guys can pick up what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to do, then you can be on the safe side. So I'm going to just be drawing my lines and stuff, acting all weird and stuff. You guys will just follow along. So we say that anything above this level is good for. Okay, I was not supposed to talk. Unfortunately for this trade, I got overconfident. Okay, but let me just show you where I put. So see that price was actually consolidating here. That's why iCC is good, but you don't always have to trade it during consolidations because it will mess up your brain. So here price was consolidating. Then all I had to do was wait for price to come above this level, and then I would have taken more entries for buys. But it's okay. Shall find other entries. Let me just do 3 more. See the second one, then we have 1 more, and then afterwards we shall continue from there. Sorry for this. This takes a little bit of time. Again, here the mistake I made. Price was I was expecting for price to push up towards the next area of support, but I never had a clear market direction, so I think I just needed to wait a bit longer. So for this one, have a line over there, another line over there. So anything above that level, we know we are buying, and anything above the second line, we are also buying. So, but so far the levels of support that we have is here. That is the first level of support. So here also buyers could be putting their stop losses around this zone. So if price breaks any of them, we shall be in. So you see that we have in almost 900. We're going to almost 900 points in loss, and yeah, I think we messed up pretty good. Okay, we messed up pretty good here. Okay, 1.3, 1.2, 1.4, 1.2, 1.1, 1.2. I want you guys to just observe the market structure, because right now there's no way someone can hold all these losing positions up to here. But let me just show you how you can get out of drawdown, how market shifts anyways. So see that this was the previous level of support, this was the previous level of resistance. So if price breaks, that means that there are no sellers above that area. So we shall wait for price to give us an indication that it wants to continue buying. Then I'll show you guys how the structure will work. But the issue here that I have is that I have no context. Okay, so if I had context, so see that price broke through that level the first time, that was the indication, and then after it made a pullback and then continued to push even higher. Okay, but see that price now started to break, continued higher a bit. Okay, we had a continuation. Okay, you see how epic that thing is. Above this area, price is bullish. Okay, so we had a selling momentum here, and then afterwards price started to push even higher. So here we shall see price is starting to push up. Okay, we are coming up. Okay, we are coming a little bit more up. But gold really had a massive crash. I don't know if you guys observed that was some bit of a massive crash. And you see that price is actually starting to repeat the same pattern. Okay, but we know so far that anything above this level is good for buys. We had the indication, and we're just waiting for price to make the confirmation again. Once it goes above one more time, then we can take even more entries for buys. But this could take lots of patience, my friend, lots of patience. It's like if you have to wait for this trade, it's not even just patience, it's about making money. Okay, so if your mindset is about making money, this could take time, but it will be rewarding more than taking 5-second trades and then afterwards you lose, you cry. Okay, so see price breaking structure is continuing the momentum, but although the momentum push that we see that right now is a bit of, but you would have made lots of cash once price came above and you noticed the level and you bought. You would have made lots of cash, because as you can see that level that I've marked, price is actually very bullish above it. So buyers are in control whenever price is above that level. So we are simply just wait. But so far price is consolidating, so I think we shall have another massive drawdown. Not so I shall put take profit for this one is gonna be up there. Stop loss is just gonna be underneath this zone. If price takes out this zone, this is a level of support. Okay, this is where most of the buyers are at. So if price takes it out, that means there is an indication that it wants to go even lower. Okay, we had the breakout to the top. Guys, I don't know if you know, guys, if you guys can observe where I've come from. I've come from all the way up here. So you see price push up. Okay, we're starting to gain some traction, but it was after some good time of waiting. Okay, after some good time of waiting. But I even won't put my TP here, bro. I'll put the TP at the next area where we had massive this was actually, this area over here was where we saw massive selling kicking into the market. That means there's lots of orders at above that level. So here we see market starting to shift structure, then we consolidate, then it comes back a bit, but overall the structure is being respected. Okay, overall they are making prices breaking more highs than is making more lower lows, so that's important. Once price is making more highs than it's making lower lows, then that means that okay, ah, we had our losses, but 443 from 1M. Took lots of patience, but yeah, that trade we kind of lost it, but it's okay. The reason why we lost it is simply because price never gave us the confirmation that we would have needed to make a continuation move. So it was our impatience at best. So again, price here had a strong level of support. After the break, price came for a consolidation above that level, and then afterwards I'm selling because as you can see, price had a support over here. It got broken. So after this pullback, I'm waiting for price to actually even continue up to here. Stop loss is gonna be above this level of support, and TP is gonna be around this area. Stop loss is gonna be above this area of resistance, sorry, and TP is at this area of support. So let's wait and see. Okay, so price had the other ideas in mind, so don't even have to worry. So you see that we have another confirmation entry over here. Price broke above this level, giving us the indication. So we wait for price to come above that level once more again. And also we see that whenever price went above this level, we had buys. So all the more reason to take our buys entries here, and then we shall be holding price till we reach the next level of support. Okay, so we kind of lost this one also. You see that whenever price went above this, underneath this zone, we had sales. So here we shall sell again. Where the stop loss be? Stop loss can be anywhere, but most importantly, we have to first of all mark out areas of support and resistance. Okay, so this was an area of support. And after price went underneath, okay, we reached the most current data. Okay, so close. Okay, oh, this sound was. Okay, so we have another area here. Price was making lower lows in the market until we broke this level of support. But now this is the main idea that most of you guys don't get. Price breaking above an area of support or resistance is not an indication that it's going to start reversing. Okay, what we need in iCC is the indication. So this was the indication. Price above this level is bullish. That's the only thing that this whole movement up is telling us, that price above this area of resistance is going to be bullish. That's the only information we have. We don't have a second information. The only way you can confirm that price is above this level is going to be bullish again is if price makes the same movement until you come above this level. Then you can assuredly know that price will likely push the upside. But without having that second information, it's really vague to start assuming that price has shifted momentum or it has shifted what structure. So here we are seeing that price went underneath the first zone, the second zone. I won't take entries here because I know that price is likely now to start selling. And we see that price comes above the first area of support here. So I'll be waiting for price to come above this same zone. So price, as you can see, price is selling aggressively. But for people who would have bought here, would have been mistaken because price would have trapped you, and then afterwards would have had all this massive sell. Okay, so you have to be very vigilant. Price just breaking above a high or a low doesn't mean that it's an indication that it wants to continue higher or lower. No, it's just giving you information that hey, above this level we had strong sellers here because price was selling here, price was selling here, price was selling here. But above this level I'm willing to buy. There are buyers who are willing to push the market all the way up to here. So it's just an indication, okay? So you don't have to follow it blindly that after price pushes above this level, I have to take my entries. No, you have to wait for a confirmation. So if you had waited for a confirmation, you would have been stopped from this stop loss hunch, okay? And then you would also have been stopped from this stop loss hunch, okay? So this would have been a stop loss hunch. There are buyers here who have seen that price has gone above a level of resistance. Therefore, they're actually entering in even high leverage positions here. What does market do? It traps them. It makes this huge push down, clearing all of them out, and it clears also the area where they are at most, which is around this area of support. After clearing that area, we know that anything underneath this area is good for sales because there are no buyers underneath that area, okay? So we shall wait for price to make another move to the upside, and then after it comes back down, here's the crucial part. You have to wait for price to break structure, and then afterwards you sell, okay? So I'll be selling here because price gave us the indication. My stop loss will be above the previous high, and then afterwards my TP is going to be at the next area of support. So we shall see price pushed higher a bit, and then after some time we see that price hit stop loss. Is it stop loss? We had a level of support, and then afterwards let's wait a bit and see. Okay, what do you see? Price pushed even higher pushed higher a bit, and then afterwards it had this massive sell. So my whole analysis laid upon this area of support over here, sorry, area of resistance upon here. So if price took out this area of resistance, I would be out of the market automatically, because that would have been another indication that price wants to do what? Push higher. So but you guys can see how I've so far been trading, okay? I've been able to hold price all the way from here all the way down here. Why? Because I was able to manage my risk. So if I'd put high leverage positions, what would happen? Price would come all the way here, and I wouldn't even get a chance to add even more positions. Why? Because price would have taken me out already, okay? So you have to keep in mind that. Also, I'll share with you a secret. There's something here which happens in most of the cases, okay? So let's say you're trying to trade a continuation pattern to the downside, okay? So you see that anything underneath this level of support is good for sales. Price comes underneath the level of support for the first time. If you observe, you put your stop loss here. This would have been your TP, okay? But this is the first time. So the second time, price comes again underneath this level of support. But this level, the second time that it comes underneath this level of support, there is no structure above. Now, when price leaves no structure above, it means that the sellers in the market won't have where to put their stop losses in case price reverses. And that's a very crucial point, because if someone doesn't have where to put their stop losses once price starts to reverse, that means that there's going to be lots of market volatility at that area, okay? So for your information, this could have been your stop loss entry. This would have been a stop loss, an area where we see that there is a resistance, okay? This could have been a stop loss, but would you really have held this position all the way up to that area? Let's be realistic. No, because most of you, once would have seen this area being taken out, you would have been like, let me just close out, okay? And you would have been right. You would have just wait for price to hit your stop loss, maybe a few pips above, and then afterwards, you'd have started now to have assumptions that price is going to be bullish. But now, here is the crazy part. When you're trading gold, I want you guys to understand something. Whenever you're trading, you don't have to rely only on a single pair, okay? Especially when you're starting up. When you're starting up, try as many as 5 pairs, because if you're trying to get setups on gold every 5 seconds, what happens is that gold is going to make you actually lose yourself. You're going to become mentally disturbed, because price will always do the opposite of what you expect it to do, and then afterwards it will move in your direction. Look at this. We are entering ourselves here. Price pushed up, okay? We are like, okay, we are cool. Let's close our entries, okay? And then after some time, price again comes underneath the same level. So let me just show you a bit here. Now, why do I consider this a more perfect entry? Because we have a structure break, previous structure break, before we had a continuation move to the upside, okay? Price, as you can see, was bullish. price here was bullish, okay, before it started to go bearish. After we closed underneath here, that was a bearish signal. And then after some time, after price crossed this same zone, the third time, sorry, it had structure. So structure is very important if you're tracking your continuation move, because with structure you are definitely holding to what price is giving you. So structure is very, very important. So as I've been telling you, anything above this, underneath this zone where I'm touching, is good for sales, okay? But you have seen that the first time that price came, the first continuation move that we had, it never left any structure above. There was no clear structure point where you can put your stop loss, and because of that, there is lots of volatility in the market at that area. Therefore, it's not a strong zone, okay? What we have to do right now is to wait for price to come underneath the second time or the third time, whatever the case may be. And here, over here, if you observe, as I've been telling you, price gave us a clear structure. We could put our stop losses above this area, and we could hold price until we hit the next level of support, unlike the first time. But just to make it simpler, if you guys can observe, we have a new indication that anything underneath this level of support, there are no buyers, okay? So anything underneath that level of support, we are willing to sell the market all the way up to here. So I'll close out at least, let me see, how many positions? I have 8 positions. I'll close out half of them, okay? So half of 8 is around 4, I think. So we shall close out. We have the indication, so we shall close even more. And then afterwards, we see that price is starting to sell. But now this is the issue that most of us even have. We have anxiety, okay? You have seen that price has given you the indication. Why should you hold your trades so high when you know that your mentality can be disturbed? If this trade over here, which is in almost 33,000 points, goes in your direction, and then afterwards it pushes all the way to hit your stop loss, do you know how that is going to mess you up mentally? So you have to keep it simple, as well as protecting your mental energy, because if you put a mental energy on every trade that you're taking, you're going to be mentally disturbed, okay? Because this is probably like a 1 to 3, okay? But so how do you decrease the mental energy? You can put an alert. You put a trade alert at this area, so that if price comes back to this area, you want to be in the trade. As simple as that. Once price comes back to that area, you want to be in the trade. But that's it, guys. That's it. There's nothing big. There's nothing holy grail about this. We're just trading simple price action. It's not like we have trading a new algorithm or a new strategy. No, simple price action. We know that we just mark up our areas, and then afterwards we shall see price continuing. Okay, so we also see that underneath this area, price was selling, okay? As I've been telling you guys, whenever price goes underneath an area, if you observe here, over this area where I've marked this area where I've put my line, horizontal line over there, we see that whenever price went underneath this area, we had massive selling, okay? That would have been your indication that price is going to do what? Start selling. So also here, if you observe also here, whenever price went underneath this level, it sold up to around this area of support here. So the first time that price came, it made even another indication that we wanted to go higher, but you wouldn't take your buys, because most of us have the issue that whenever price breaks a high, we always immediately start to jump into trades thinking that price is going to buy. No, if price is making a reversal, wait for it to give you the indication, and then afterwards you have the continuation move to the upside, to the next level of support or resistance, whatever the case may be. But you have to wait for that trade to come back above that zone, then you can be sure that price is really bullish, okay? Because now there are buyers above the first time, therefore the second time they're going to be buyers above, okay? Without that indication, there is no way that someone can hold any trade above this area, because it would make no sense for you to hold your buys maybe at this area, wishing, not even strategically, but wishing that price can go all the way up to back to this area. No, That's not how we trade, bro. That's not how we trade. We trade with market structure, and you know, just simply because price pushed above a high or a low doesn't mean that price is now starting to be bearish. No, it can simply just be a liquidity grab, just as in this case, price grabbed liquidity from the market, and then after you had this massive sell-off. Okay, so it isn't something very brief or something very mystical. It's just about following structure. Okay, following how structure works. And after some time here, we see that price is now starting to buy. Okay, so this position over here, price is starting to sell, and after some time we hit TP. So we had around 263,000 points in profit, and this was a good sell positions. Why wouldn't I take any buys? Okay, let me just assume that someone took buys here. What would their criteria be? Okay, so for someone who took buys here, maybe they had this in mind. Okay, so they would have seen this kind of this car area over here, and then they would be like, oh, anything above this level is good for buys, anything above this level of support is good for buys. And then let me say price came above that area, it crossed underneath, but then after it came above that area the second time. So these people would have bought, of course, and they would have made profit because price would have hit their TP. Okay, but in the long run, all I'm seeing is I want to see major areas, major swing highs and swing lows. Okay, I'm not looking at these small structures because the small structures can easily be grabbed, liquidity can easily be grabbed from them, but these higher time frame structures, because this swing low over here took times, maybe like hours and hours on end before price breaks it. Okay, but look at this swing low. This swing low was easily swept in one single candle because it's weak string, but I'll be explaining most of this, what a weak swing low and a strong swing high are. Okay, but yeah, that's it guys, that's it. Shall be explaining more later on.